Hello everyone, we're doing Midpoint or Bisector Part 2. Welcome to Integrated Math 1. I'm Mr. Schultz and I'm here to teach you. Make sure that you write your first and last name at the top of this. And just as well, make sure you put your period number. So this is going to be easy or hard depending on if you read and make diagrams. So that's the most important part of this. So let's jump in. Find the coordinates of the missing endpoint if B is the midpoint of AC. So, it's going to look like this. We're going to have a shape. And B is going to be directly in the middle. I don't have to draw it. As long as I understand that it is going to be in the middle, I can be off a little bit. That's okay. So now when I make these, I'm going to have to understand that, hey, look, B is my midpoint. So if I remember correctly, my midpoint formula is this. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So I'm going to fill in all the information I have. I know my midpoint is -2, comma 5. And I know it doesn't matter which one I choose first, but I'm going to put -5 plus x, that's going to be my a, divided by 2, 2, and I'm going to have my y, which is 4, that's my c, plus y, divided by 2. Now you might be like, well, how is that going to help me? Well, we can break this apart and make two separate equations. So I can make this first one right here. I'm going to say my x's. I know that -2 has to equal -5 plus x divided by 2. And you're like, well, I didn't get x by itself. Well, now you have to. So we're going to slowly get x by itself by doing the inverse operations. So I'm going to times it by 2 on both sides. And I get -4 is equal to -5 plus x. Well, now I only have this -5 right there. So how do I get rid of that? I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Now you might be like, all right, -4 plus 5 is carry the 1, blah, blah, blah. Or flip it around. 5 minus 4 is 1. So I get 1 is equal to x. So if I have my answer box, I'm going to say, hey, a is 1 comma, and I don't have y yet because I only did one equation. So I have to figure out what is y equal to. Well, I broke this equation up for the x. Now I'm going to break it up for the y. I understand that the midpoint 5 for y is equal to all the y's added together divided by 2. Once again, solve for y. We're going to times 2 on both sides and then solve for y. I get 10 is equal to 4 plus y. All right, guys, 4 plus what equals 10? All right, it's 6. But we should still show our work by subtracting by 4 the inverse operations as we slowly get y by itself. So the other endpoint is 1 comma 6. So if they give us 2 of these, we can figure out the third one. All right, go ahead and you do number 16. You're going to do it exactly the way we just did it, but with different numbers. So learn bisectors and segment bisectors. So just give you a hint. The midpoint separates the segment into 2 congruent segments. So let's write that in. Now, the symbol for congruent is this. So that means that they're equal in distance, but they're not the same because one's on the left, one's on the right. They're equal in distance value, but they're not the same, so they're congruent. So this is also called a bisector or a segment bisector. Now, we'll also see this later when we bisect angles. Like if we have a 90-degree angle and we bisect that, well, that'd be 45 and 45, but we're not getting there yet. All right, let's go to example 5 and 6. Find the missing measures in the total lengths. Well, let's go. So here's number 17. So suppose M is the midpoint of FG. Well, the first thing we should do is we should draw this out. We understand that F, G, and the midpoint. So we should understand this right here. So he's saying, hey, look, FM, so M is the midpoint, so they are congruent. Now I could either draw this out or I can reference this. FM is 5y plus 13. And MG is equal to 5 minus 3y. So we know that FM has to equal MG because they are congruent. So the values of them, Fy plus 13, has to equal 5 minus 3y. So now what we got to do is we have to solve for y. And once we find out what y is, we can input it back into whichever one is easier, either the left side or the right side, and then solve for how big is one of these. And then times it by 2, and we're done. All right, so let's go. So I'm going to get all the y's to one side. So I'm going to add 3y to both sides because I hate negatives in math. So I'm going to add 3y to both sides, and I get 8y plus 13 is equal to 5. Well, now I'm going to subtract by 13 on both sides. And so I might find this a little hard. So from 5 to get up to 13 would be 8, but it's negative. So I know this is going to be negative 8 is equal to 8y. Well, what's the opposite of times 8? The inverse operation is divide by 8. And 8 divided by 8 is 1, but negative 8 divided by 8 is negative 1. So y equals negative 1. Now you might be like, done, yeah. But there's more. So you figured out y. Our answer, or what they want us to figure out is, what's the total length? Well, pick whichever side you want. Now, you left side, right side. Like if I pick the left side, I would get 5 times negative 1 plus 13. And if I pick the right side, I would get 5 minus 3 times negative 1. And in either case, we're going to get the same answer. I just need to do one of these because they're both equal to each other. If I find out one, I just need to times it by 2 and I'll get the total length. So if I get this, this would be negative 5. Add this together, we would get 8. So the total times 2 would be 16. FG equals 16. Done. Well, what if you use the other one? Well, negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Times 2, we still get 16. So whichever one you like, you should use. Now, if you want to do a quick check and figure out, hey, they're not equal or they are equal, when you're doing your math, you can figure out, oh, I did a mistake somewhere. All right, go ahead and do number 18, and we're going to show you one more. In 3, 2, 1. All right, guys. So, find the value of y if m is the midpoint of Ln. So once again, you're going to make these equal to each other. And then solve for y. Y is equal to, and then Lm or Lmn is equal to what? And then times whichever one you want by 2 and you'll get the answer. Now, even this last one right here is the same deal. Make them equal, and then figure it out. All right, guys. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys enjoy the break that is coming up. Bye, everybody.